Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Fallen Lands is like this post-apocalyptic card game where just the most crazy things can happen. The game is full of parodies. It's full of like Terminators and all these movie references you're going to see in the game. And it is quite fun. I mean, just looking at the cards and reading them, you're just going to have a blast. Just laughing and saying, hey, I get that reference and this is cool. This combination is going to be neat. And that's even before you even play the game. The artwork, yeah, it's an acquired taste. I think it fits the style of this game just fine. I don't know that it's going to blow your socks off, but it kind of fits here. And I think that it works. Now, Fallen Land is a Ameritrash goodness. You're going to be going over this world. You're going to be experimenting and exploring and trying to build up your collection of people. So you're going to have like these 5 or 6 people that will be part of your gang, and you'll be giving them all kinds of crazy weapons and doing fun things, and there'll be some dice rolling. And the dice rolling is going to kind of keep the game going, and the success rate, which I'll show you in the flow of the game, it's a little weird. It's a little complicated. Once you get the hang of it, it's not that strange or awkward, but it does feel awkward the first few times you play, especially when you're explaining it to somebody new. Now, if somebody's never played games before, there's a lot to manage here on just one team alone. And if you're going to min-max it, it's going to take forever. And with that said, this is not a short game. This is a long game. And I'd probably keep it to no more than 3-player. And it's a great solo game. I think the game plays fine solo out of the box, where you're just trying to meet the requirements and so forth. And I think that it works great. 1, 2, or 3. I don't think I want to go much over that because of the downtime in the game. It's really going to irritate and bother me. With that said, there is a lot to manage. You do have different combinations of weapons and items and people and who's going to work best and who's going to do this best. And if you try to min-max that, I think that it's going to take too much time. So the way I kind of play is I just kind of look at what's cool or what I think is going to look, and I eyeball it. But if you try to min-max it, you're going to be in for a nightmare. It's not that type of game. You will have some dice rolling, which will turn some people off. There's going to be some luck in this game. But let me stop talking about the negative and start talking about the positive. This is a rip-roaring good time. This is such a story in this game. Each faction feels different. You're building up your gang. You're going out exploring and fighting and having encounters. And all without miniatures. Yes, it can be done without miniatures. And this game is a rollicking good time. If you're looking for a post-apocalyptic game, and you like that Mad Max, Terminator, I mean, all these things are kind of mixed in this game, it's in here, and it's super duper fun. Now, this is not a Euro. This is not going to be a dry Euro. This is not a strategic mastermind type of game. Although there's some of that playing to the percentages, of course. But this one is going to give you that epic post-apocalyptic story. And I feel like it just comes screaming through. This is the game that you missed that you've been looking for. Now, there's a lot to churn in your mind. There's a lot going on. You got to take your time. You got to take your turn. There's some training going on. There's some wonky things going on in this one, but it's definitely worth the experience. I'm going to highly recommend Fallen Lands, and I'm going to tell you why right now. First of all, there's not a whole lot of good post-apocalyptic games that really give you that idea that here's a sandbox, here's a world, go explore, go on these missions, and these random events will happen, and you're going to be fighting, and you're going to be trying to scavenge, and you're going to be attacking the other players in the game. It's PvP, it's mercenaries that will come up. And you really tell a story about how your faction will grow. That's going to be the strongest suit in this game, is that story element of what you're doing. Now, the theme really comes through. This is the second big thing. It's really going to feel like you're in this post-apocalyptic world. You got this RV bus with missiles on the side of it, and now you can travel a lot further, or you can get your motorcycle and just kind of go out. It's really, really cool, and I kind of feel like I'm doing that. I feel this attachment to the characters that are happening, as crazy and wonky as they are. You have this crazy drunk uncle guy who wears a leather jacket and just likes to shoot people up, and he can't scavenge for anything. But he's part of your team, so you love him. And that theme really comes through. I really feel like I'm in this faction. I really feel like I'm in this race. The third thing I really like about it is I do like the innovative mechanism where you're rolling the dice. While it does appear wonky at first, you're kind of like, what's going on here? I really like how you can get those successes, and your team kind of works together. And you need diversity in your team. You need somebody who's good at fighting, and maybe a couple of people are good at fighting. But you need some healers. You need some other people that can go around and look, that maybe have high perception or charisma. And you need a good group and not just a good character. there is a lot of PvP in this game without feeling cheap. I feel like I'm building up. I feel like I'm getting stronger. I feel like you're getting stronger, and we'll battle for resources back and forth, because what? Resources are scarce nowadays, right? So I feel like this all comes together in this nice little bow, this nice little package. And Fallen Land is what I'm going to tell you to definitely check out. The rulebook, it's pretty thick, but really when you get down to it, it's full of examples, it's full of color, it's full of pictures, and I think this game is easy enough. If you get somebody to teach it to you, more better for you, but it's a really good package and one that I'm highly, highly going to recommend. And this one probably has not been on your radar. Here are the components for Fallen Land. You can see the board set up. It's these little small hexes of the United States. These are the player pieces. You'll be moving around the board. Each one comes in a different shape. This one just happens to be the ones with the revolvers. You'll have some 6-sided dice that will come with the game. Just regular 6-sided dice. And then you'll have a bunch of 10-sided die. There are 2 sets that come in the game. The game plays up to 6. It's just not enough. You're going to have a ton of cards. Here's what a player's layout may look like. You're going to have a player card, and each one's going to be laid out the same, although they'll have different powers and be asymmetrical. You have your powers over here, your starting resources, and on the back you have a story that tells the story of your, in particular, organization here. This is the Brotherhood. This is very flimsy, which I guess is okay, because it just sits on the table. You'll have these cards that you'll be utilizing, and the artwork is neat, but neither consistent, very gory. This is the Terminator from Terminator 3. But I don't think anybody's going to look at this and say this is fantastic artwork. I mean, it's probably better than I could do, but that's not saying a whole lot. Each of the cards will have the stats on the bottom they have and a unique power. This is a character. You will get a bunch of tokens that will represent salvage or money, if you will. You'll have some vehicles. Here's a lot of humor in the game. Jameson Bond 77 Lotus instead of James Bond with your powers, and you'll have those. Here's the action card deck. You can see on the back, and you'll just see the artwork is hit or miss at times. The cost and the bond. The icons are fairly easy to read, but you can see there's a lot of humor. Here's a man on Montezuma's Revenge, a zombie taking a poo-poo. So, a lot of humor in this game. The mission cards are going to be full of text like this, telling you the story, what's going on. Very few pictures, which is okay because the story really comes alive on these cards. You will get a number of different organizations you can be, each one with different playing style, different artwork, a different story, and different powers. So very asymmetrical of what you're doing here, and very different. So the Sigma Corporation is going to play very different than, say, the Enclave or the Regulators from Amarillo, Texas. Everything here happens in America, so you'll notice it's very America-centric. But the components are okay. They make up for what they don't have in quality for quantity. There is a lot in this box. As for components, I think that this board kind of tells you what you need to know. The game is functional. The components work. This board, you don't look at it and go, wow, I want to play this. It's actually quite bland and boring looking. But you would never believe from looking at this board how fantastic of a story-driven game that this is. So the components, while average at best, especially for a Kickstarter, gives you quite a bit of components in number, and the joy of looking at some of these cars, and like you could ride in a buggy if you wanted to, and go across America in this matching Baja buggies. You can go in James Bond's car. All kinds of funny things that can be going on. You find this hockey mask. It might look just like Jason, right? One of your characters can be a ninja. So a lot of cool things going on, a lot of weapons. You can actually fly a helicopter in the game. So the components have a lot going on in game design, but not really in quality per se. I do want to bring attention to the first player sheet. This is going to be the first player token that you will pass around the board. I think it's a really brilliant idea to have the cheat sheet to be here, what you actually pass around. Yes, it's big and it's unwieldy, but it has a lot of information on it, and it works in this game. A game that does rely on the rules so much and the flow of the game. It's all printed on here, and the first player, when they're done, will pass it on to the next player for their turn. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Now, as for the rule book, the rule book's pretty good. You got a QR code here at the front, and it's going to go over all the components and what they are, which can be a little overwhelming You're going to have setup, order of play. This isn't the easiest games to jump into. If you're taught it, it's really easy to play. But there's a bunch of little rules that you would expect. You're going to see a whole bunch of pages taken up with artwork in this. A lot of little things. Here's the ninja I was telling you about. A lot of little rules that's in this game, explanations of what things are, just to kind of get the story to continue to go, how to heal. So the book is fairly long. Let's go back here. There's going to be plenty of examples of how to play and the fighting and the combat, which is a little wonky, a little different, how it will go through, all the different decks of cards, how you can move. So you're looking at 31 pages of rules here. I don't want that to scare you off, but there is quite a bit. And then there's a little bit more of a cheat sheet here at the back, kind of telling you how to go through everything. Very neat. But player versus player will be back in here. A lot of rules in this game, although as you'll notice from the flow of the game, when I show you how to play, it's not all that complicated, but they do need to cover all their bases. You're going to get a quick reference sheet on the back. I think the rule book does a fairly good job, although I think you'll be very happy if somebody just teaches you this game. Now let's talk about the flow of the game. I'm not going to teach all of the rules. That's not what I'm trying to accomplish here. Instead, I just want to show you how the game kind of works and some of the mechanics that you may have a problem with. To win the game, there is two ways. One, you can go up the prestige track and get all the way to 0, or you can do the town hall, which is get all the way around on the green track and become win. Now, in this, when you're doing a town hall, you're going to start out on 30, and on the prestige, you're going to start out at 1. Prestige, obviously, is a little harder to come by, a little bit less straightforward, but the town hall, you're going to get a lot more points. So those are two competing objectives that you can reach. Either you win by prestige or the town health. It doesn't matter which one you try. You can try both. If you try both, you're probably unlikely to win, but you can win by finishing either one of these tracks. Now, when the game starts, everybody will pick a faction they want to be. Each one plays a little bit different with special rules and powers they have over here. Start with different starting resources. You will notice here on your character sheet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have enough room to play 5 characters on your raiding party. You start out with these resources. Now, these resources that you're going to gain in the game will not only give you extra plus successes, they are worth 5 points or 1 prestige point. You will score both of those when you purchase this, and you'll start out with a couple when you start the game. Otherwise, you're going to have these characters down here. Let me show you an example of one. Here is one character you can have. This is Captain Washington. You'll see that he has all these attributes down here that we were using to pass test. He'll have some powers right here and maybe some extra powers. Here's his health and his psychological health that you'll be tracking during the game. If either one of these get down to 0, then you will lose. And each character will play a little bit differently. Here is the Terminator in respect. You can see the numbers across the bottom are different, how much you can carry, and a bunch of little different powers going on in health. Let's compare that to the Veterinarian. You can see, not as good a fighter as the Terminator would be, but it has different powers and stuff. So each of the characters are going to work differently. Now each character will be able to carry X amount of luggage. Right here, what you're going to see. So 11. And if you look at all the items that you get, let's say you picked up this machine gun, this would take 6 of her carrying ability. So she would have 5 ability left. This right here is the coin of how much you can buy or sell it for. And this will be adding to her stats. So that you can only carry so much depending on the person. That's a quick overview of how the characters work. Now let me show you how the game turn will look like. The cheat sheet for this game is really good. The first thing I do is resolve any kind of effects that will happen. This will be on cards or damage that you may get. And usually you'll be skipping over this. It's just kind of like a cleanup phase. So the first thing you do in the second part of the section is everybody will get one of these action cards. These action cards can be take that cards or just ways to power things. You can always sell them off for this amount of money down here. They have effects that might be in certain phases, or they will do stuff. Play during the end game, remove all book spoils. Play during the end of turn, steal 1 non-vehicle spoils. You've got against the odds, playing time, discard an action card attached to a town play, or confiscate. So these will just give you powers or points or allow you to do different things. Everybody will get one of these each round. Next, you will receive whatever bonus you're going to get for this. So depending on how many of these that you have out on the board, you will get either 1 town hall point and 1 coin, up to 5 town hall points each round and 25 coins. And you'll be able to get that by covering up these spaces right here on the board. There'll be some market boards on here that when you're able to fulfill a mission there, you will put your marker on that, which will move you up the track on your character board. And as you move up on this board, obviously it's going to be worth more and more points. So if If you only have 1 on the board, it's not going to be worth as much as if you have 5 on the board. Now what you can do now in this phase, this is part 3, is you can auction anything that you want off. So say I wanted to auction off this car. I can always sell this to the bank later on the term for 23 bucks, but I know that you might really want this. Without having to go through the deck and find something, I could auction this off to you. You might give me 30 or 40 or 50 coin salvage points for this, as opposed to only getting 23 from the bank. You would never sell this to another player for less, or maybe you'll make some kind of deal with it. After your auctioning is done, everybody will roll a 10-sided die, and then something random will happen to you based on this chart. It can go from really good to really bad. So you just roll the chart, whatever number you roll on 10-sided die, that will happen to you. Next, we'll go to the financial period, where you can sell your items and you can purchase more of these tokens that will give you bonuses and points. So you sell everything, and then when everybody's done selling, you will buy. If there's any non-player characters, you will purchase those, and then we'll move on to the party exploit phase. During the party exploit phase, you'll move and assign NPCs, and then you'll kind of take your turn. Each player will take all 4 weeks that they have to spend, and then the next player will take his. I'll go through each of these. You can movement is 1 week. You can get encounters 1 week. A PvP, player versus player, is 1 week. A resource deed is 2 weeks. Healing is 2 weeks, and a mission is 3. Let me show you what those are on the board. So if you're this red guy and you want to move on the board, you will simply roll a 6-sided die, and you will add it to any movement that you get from the vehicle, in this case 3. So let's say I have this vehicle, I would add the 6 I rolled to 3, and I can move 9 spots. Keeping in mind that these mountains cost 2 to move, and there will be these radiation spots that cost 3, which will also give you radiation damage. But that's how you just kind of move the board. You'll roll a 6-sided die and add it to any extra movement points that you have. Keep in mind that some characters even are drivers. They will give you movement points. There's a lot of different ways that you can get movement points on the board. Now, any space that you're on, whether it's plain, mountain, or city, you can draw a card from the accompanying deck and do an encounter. That just costs 1 week. And what that means to do an encounter is you will just read the paragraph that's up here. You will do the checks that are on this card, and then you will succeed or fail. Now, you won't be able to read all this. Somebody sitting at the table will read it to you, and then you'll do the test, and then whether you success or fail, you'll get what you want. I'll show you how to do these tests in just a minute. I just want to let you know that you can do this at any encounter spot on the board. That costs you 1 week. Now, if you're at one of these resource centers, like this one or this one, you can spend 2 weeks and attempt to do a resource. Now, when you're there, you can choose any of them, whether it's plains, mountains, or cities. If you're at a resource place like this one or this one, you can choose to do either a plain, mountain, or city. Now, the plains are easier, but normally give you less of a reward. The mountains are in the middle, but give you a little bit better reward. And the city and raid is the hardest, but theoretically gives you the largest reward. If you take a city and a raid, you get a free spoil card. And the spoil cards are kind of your equipment and things that you will be getting in the game. So that can be very powerful for you. You will choose which one that you want to encounter. And just like when you were going for the encounter phase, you will read what's on the board, and then you will get the benefit, whether you success or fail, and you'll pass or fail this test. Once again, we'll come back to this test soon. Now, if you happen to go to one of these mission places, which are randomly put on the board, then you will take from the mission deck, and just like the other ones, you will take the card, somebody will read this to you, and you have a pass or fail. Now, these are much harder to do. The missions, you can tell there's a bunch of tests you have to pass. If you have one of these little square things at the end, these are optional. The person can do it. You look OSC, they can fail or this. You can succeed at the normal mission, but fail the optional part, you would take that damage, or vice versa. So you want to make sure you look at that. So these are going to be a little bit harder, but usually give you really good rewards and kind of what you're shooting after in the game. Now, to do a mission, it's going to cost you 3 time. For 2 time, you can also heal up, and you can roll some dice and try to heal your person. So what you'll be doing is you'll be moving around this board, attempting to get prestige or town hall points. Town hall points are usually by getting these, but can be done by also accomplishing the missions or the encounters that you have. At the end of the turn, you'll move the turn marker 1 space, and you'll pass the first player's sheet and do any end of game turns. Okay, I'm going to attempt to show you how one of these tests will work. So if we had this test, let's say, you would automatically get 3 coins. You have to pass a 6 success of skulls, a 4 wrench, and an optional 4 wrench. So what you would do is, for your whole team, you would roll the 10-sided die. So you would roll the 10-sided die, and you would assign one of these die to each of the colors here, as you can see, based on the color of the die. And you're going to be looking for successes. It's very easy. A 1, let me get these out of the way so you don't have to look at them. A 1 is always a success. A 10 is always a failure. Regardless of how many successes you get, a 10 is a failure. If you roll a 1, you can always roll the die again, that's 1 success, and keep rolling. But if you roll a 10 on your 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 100th roll, then everything before it's a success. So let's say you rolled a 4, and we're trying to pass skulls. So you look at your character, he has 6 skulls. This Vendetta's got 4 for 10. This machine gun's got 7 for 17, and Hockey Mask has 18, 19. For every 10, I'm going to get 1 success. And then if what I rolled is lower or equal to the remainder, I will get another success. So in this case, I got 19. 10 is 1 success. 19 minus 10 is 9. 4 is less than the remainder of 9. Now, let's say that I would have had the survival knife, and now I'm looking at 21. So this would have given me 2 more skulls for a total of 21. I would get 2 successes for the 10s, 10, 20. The remainder is 1. 4 is greater than it, then I do not get the point. Okay, let's keep going with this. So now I have 25. I've added a chainsaw, so now I have 25. I would get 2 successes, 10, 20. 5 is the remainder, right? And 5 is larger than 4, so now I have 3 successes for this. And you would do this for all 5 of your characters, and if it equals the success or more than is required by the mission, you pass. That's all there is to the combat. Now it's a little wonky the way that it works, and it might be not what you're used to, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it becomes very simple. But remember, when you do this, you can have all successes for all of your characters. Sometimes it might say just people with melee, or just people who have ranged weapons, or just, blah, blah, blah. But otherwise, it's always for all of them. You count up your future success for your entire party, and you will succeed or fail based on that regard. Who should buy this game? This is for serious gamers, alright? There's a lot going on here. If you want to play solo, this is definitely something you can play solo. Not more than 3. I don't think that you want to go up that much. If you want to play with non-gamers, I feel like there's a lot to kind of balance here. I feel like there's a lot to juggle. There's a lot of different characters and weapons you can have. If you're going to just roll with it, I think the less of a gamer somebody is, the more they can handle this. But there is quite a bit to kind of juggle and kind of know what's going on. The combat, the rolling the dice system, that's something you have to slow down and teach somebody. Even gamers, it's going to take a little bit of a while to kind of figure out what's going on here. But it's not really that simple. Somebody at the table really needs to know what's going on. That'll make the whole experience better. This is for people who like theme, especially post-apocalyptic theme. If you like theme in your games and you like the story that kind of comes out of it, this is definitely somewhere you want to be. If you're a Euro player, this is not a game for you. This is not where you want to be. For those that like theme and like chucking dice and like building a story and like having this game as a post-apocalyptic faction, this is the game you've been waiting on, people. Check this one out. Highly recommend. It's a definite keeper. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel. Lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing games.